In this section, we will look at the pest operations that OSPRI undertakes. These include possum control and control methods. In New Zealand, possums are identified as the main wildlife maintenance host of bovine TB. Therefore, possum control in New Zealand is a key component in suppressing and removing bovine TB from the wildlife population. TB freedom in possums is an objective of the TB plan to be achieved by 2040. Almost all of New Zealand has possums, but not all areas have TB in the possum population. Highlighted areas on your screen show the TB risk areas. TB is a fatal disease to possums and they are highly susceptible to contracting the disease due to their social behaviour, sharing of den sites and opportunistic scavenging. This means they can contract the disease by scavenging dead TB-infected wildlife or through close contact through fighting or breathing TB aerosols from other infected possums. As a result, OSPRI completes broad-scale possum control operations to reduce the possum population to extremely low levels, approximately 1 to 2 possums per 10 hectares in areas where the disease is known to exist. When possum numbers are this low for a sustained period of time, the disease dies out of the population because TB-infected possums cannot pass the disease on to other possums prior to dying. Other wild animals such as pigs, wild deer and ferrets are known as spillover hosts as they contract the disease from scavenging or having close contact with dead TB-infected possums. In the case of deer, they may attack or be inquisitive of a sick possum and be exposed to TB lesions or TB aerosols. Research and experience tells us that by keeping possum numbers consistently low, and even for 7 to 10 years, reduces the chances of possums contracting TB, thereby breaking the infection cycle. The removal of TB-infected possums ceases the potential disease spillover to pigs, ferrets and deer. OSPRI has broken up areas where TB is present in wildlife into around 100 TB management areas, or TMAs. Each TMA is designed according to disease patterns, geographical features, control history and future control needs. Pest control work for each TMA is then tendered out to experienced and qualified pest control contractors. Pest control contractors have a number of obligations when doing control work for OSPRI, including engaging with the landowners, communicating to the public and recording and reporting on areas controlled. This is a key requirement as OSPRI uses this information to do modelling on the likelihood of the area still having TB and for the development of future pest management plans or control requirements. At the completion of any operation, a follow-up monitor is used to validate that there are no or very low possum numbers within the area. All contract activities are described in a legal contract, which outlines the area to be controlled, methods to undertake the control, and additional information, such as recording of possum detection or captures. On average, 90% of the control work done by OSPRI is ground control operations, using methods such as bait stations or, to a lesser extent, leg hold traps. To support areas of ground control, the TB program undertakes some aerial control operations using sodium fluoroacetate, or as it's commonly known, 1080. 1080 is mainly used in areas where the type of terrain, habitat or the size of area for control is extremely large, which ground control would be less effective and potentially more expensive if used as an alternative. The use of 1080 is strictly controlled and every operation requires consultation and a sign-off by the consenting agencies, such as the Ministry of Health and the Environment Protection Authority. Often only 1.5 kilogram of cereal bait per hectare is used for aerial possum control. This equates to about 4 to 6 baits per tennis court size area. One standard 12-gram cereal bait is effective to kill 1 possum. From trial work, we know that 90 to 95% of possums are killed within the first night of an aerial application. Prior to 1080 baits being flown, a pre-feed application of non-toxic bait is done. This allows possums to get familiar with the bait and make the operation more effective. Some people have concerns about the use of 1080 based on the perceived environmental and biodiversity impacts that it may cause. From an environmental aspect, 1080 is biodegradable, which means it breaks down in soil and water and turns inactive quickly once exposed to moisture. And from a biodiversity perspective, 1080 baits are designed to target possums, with the taste and colouring of baits being developed to increase the uptake from possums and reduce the non-targeted species being affected. Trials have found that after 1080 operations, local native birds and bush start to thrive as predators are removed from their habitat. With these environmental and biodiversity considerations in mind, 1080 is the most suitable and only approved toxin available to undertake aerial possum control work in New Zealand. OSPRI contractors remove warning signage only when there is a minimal risk of poisoning from baits or carcasses. This is generally after 4 to 6 months or when monitored possum carcasses have decomposed. Okay, can you recall the following? In regions that TB is known in wildlife, why does the TBfree program focus on controlling possums? On average, what is the proportion of ground control to aerial control annually? How long does it usually take TBfree to remove TB from a given area to provide TB freedom? If you're unsure of the answer, replay this section.